What radio gear am I packing for Hamcation? Stick around and we'll get right to it. So I'm always getting questions about the specific gear that I take with me on a road trip. So I thought we'd take just a few minutes today and kind of take a look at what I will be taking with me to Hamcation. Now, first, let me say that I don't plan on any HF radio during this trip, though there is an HF radio in this bigger bag here. It's a pretty quick turnaround for me this go around, and I just don't have a big budget of time that I could expend playing HF radio. I do want to have it with me though, because sometimes opportunities just present themselves and you want to be ready to take advantage of those if that happens. So let's start with the 2-meter gear. The workhorse for this trip is going to be the FT5 by Yaesu. And the reason I'm going to be carrying this, and it will be the workhorse, is small and compact, and I've got a couple of different batteries for it. On the drive down, I will connect this to the B-Tech amp that I did a video on almost a year ago now, and that will give me about 40 watts out of this radio while I'm mobile. Once I destinate in Orlando, I'll go ahead and remove it out of the car when I'm not driving, and this will be carried on my person for the duration of the event. So I like the fact that it's multi-purpose and it's going to serve several different functions while I'm there. Again, walking around with me, I'll have it. It serves as a mobile, and it will also go with everything in this kit if I want to do something digital like WinLink. Now, real quick, I'm not going to bore you guys with all of the contents of this 2-meter HT kit. I've gone over that before in a video. I believe the only thing that's really changed in this is the sound card that I'm primarily using and the bag itself. The bag itself is by Maxpedition. I don't remember the exact model, but if I can find it, I'll leave it down in the description below, a link to it so you can find this. Now, normally the FT70 sits in here right on top of the bag, and an extra battery sits on the front compartment. I have made a couple of modifications to this for this trip specifically. So I pulled out the FT70 and that spare battery. It's extra weight that I just don't need with me. I did put in the TNC3, the MobiLink TNC3. Normally just a DigiRig rides in this bag, but the DigiRig requires me to fire up the Raspberry Pi that's also in here just to make a quick WinLink connection. With the DigiRig and the new app that came out for the iPhone, Radio Mail, I can use the Radio Mail app, the MobiLink TNC, and the FT5 to make that quick packet connection and grab my WinLink messages while I'm traveling. So I did make a few modifications to it just specifically for this trip. Now, let's talk about the HF kit, what's in it, and more specifically, what's not in it. This kit is coming in right around 13 pounds, so not a lot of extra weight, but it gives me a lot of capabilities should that opportunity present itself to play some HF radio. Real quick, we'll dive through this and take a look. On the outside, I've just got the Soda Beams Carbon 6 mast. I've got a big rubber band on this side and then a small little carabiner on the other end. That allows me to drop it in a water bottle on this side over here. Here we go down in there, I can't see it from here. And then that band attaches across the bag. So just gives me a good way to hang on to that. In this pouch up here, we've got some coax, and we've got an in-fed half-wave antenna. So I'm using super small coax on this particular trip. This is RG174, and then my in-fed half-wave antenna that gives me 4 bands without the need for a tuner. In the outside pocket up here, I do have one Bioenno 3 amp hour battery. This would give me 10 watts for a little bit of time. I don't even have a way to recharge this guy, though, if I were to use it and run it dead. Not a problem, though, because of the radio that we chose for this particular kit. And then the other pocket outside just has a admin pouch in it with pens, a notebook, a rain poncho for inclement weather, and I think there's probably a little bit of spare cash in there as well. That's it. That's all that's on the outside of this bag. So let's go ahead and take a look at the main compartment. and see what we've got there. I've got the base for the FT5 stuck down in this bag. It wouldn't fit in the other one, but these two bags are designed to work in conjunction with one another. So just a base for the HT. All of the power cables that I need for this stuff would be in the 2-meter kit. So the specific cable for the charging base to be able to use 12 volts is in the 2-meter kit. Right on top, we've also got a mouse. I'll go ahead and tell you now, the Evolve laptop is down in this kit. The trackpad on that thing is absolute trash. So a external mouse or an extra mouse is definitely worth having with you if you use that. Next up, I've got a bag in here, just an accessory bag for the 705 that I'll be using. So it's got the microphone and any pertinent cables that I need for running digital modes. Next up, we've got my accessory kit. Now this is kind of large and probably a few things could be left behind if I was really trying to trim weight. This has got 2 short coax jumpers in it. It's got all kinds of power leads in it. Let's just go ahead and open that up. It's got the Power Mini in it as well. So if and really the main purpose of the Power Mini in this particular kit is just so I've got a splitter in there. I could ditch it and go to a smaller splitter if I really needed to. But just all kinds of extra cables and cords for power and whatnot in this bag. And it's just something I pretty much always carry with me. There's also some adapters for coax if I need them in the back of that as well. Only 2 things left in the bag. Of course, I've already mentioned the 705. I really wanted to take the 817 on this particular trip. I prefer the form factor of the 817, but there's so many other downsides to the 817 when compared to the 705 that I just couldn't justify it for the form factor alone. A couple of those is the replaceable batteries. So everybody knows the 705 uses those HT batteries on the back. I've got one on here. I've got an extended one that lives in this bag. Now, I mentioned that I've only got the 1 Bioenno battery and no way to recharge it. I'm not really concerned about that because I can recharge this battery from a 12-volt source. So if I plug it into the car, I could recharge the batteries on it and not really have to worry about the Bioenno battery. I would drop down, obviously, from 10 watts out to 5 watts out, but I could still get on the air. And honestly, as good as the solar cycle is getting nowadays, 5 watts is plenty more times than not. Last but not least is the Evolve laptop. So this has become my daily driver and definitely lives in this bag. This combination here only draws about 600 milliamps on receive. Now, obviously a little more when you're transmitting with the radio, but if they're just sitting there idle, we're talking 600 milliamps. So quite a good battery life on both of these, and great low power draw combinations. So what do you think? Do you think I left anything out? Would you add or subtract anything from the kits? Would you even take an HF rig if you didn't believe you were even going to have an opportunity to use it? Yeah, I could probably make an argument both ways, but it's going with me on this trip anyway. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. We will see you on the next one. Until then, 7-3.